And on this segment of Bryan in Focus, we're going to talk about the United Way in Williams County. And with us right now are the co-chairs, Tom and Dee Balser. And folks, it's great to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good that you've volunteered. The United Way always has been an organization in Northwest Ohio that's helped a lot of people. And I know the two most important jobs are the two folks that co-chair this thing every year. How did they get you guys to volunteer, Dee?
Well, Mike and his secretary, or Chris and his secretary, Pam, came to our house and talked to us. We were ignorant. We had no idea how many programs and services were available. It just blew us away. And we felt we had to give back because we, through our family and a tragedy in our family, made use of the United Way through their cancer assistance program, which they support. So they talked to us. We thought there were so many agencies that needed the support. So we said yes.
Wow, that's a big yes.
Yes, it was.
It is, isn't it, huh?
Yes.
Tom, I don't really want to dig into some tough things, but you really, as a family, had a personal tragedy here just about a year ago. Could you give the folks that are watching just a little piece of that, a little feel for what you went through?
Okay, our son-in-law had cancer, and he passed away a year ago this July. And we were very amazed that United Way supports the Cancer Assistance Program of Williams County, which directly helped our daughter and son-in-law through that tragedy of having cancer. And we had no idea that United Way supported such organizations. And when we saw that, we thought, as my wife stated, we need to give back too and help others as they helped our family through that ordeal.
Sure. Dee, what were some of the things that they helped you with during those times?
Well, specifically, the mileage. They helped pay the mileage. Josh was a fighter, and he wasn't not going down without checking out every possible avenue. They traveled to Detroit, Cleveland, Ann Arbor, and all of that during the highest price gas.
Oh, wow. Back when we had $3 gas.
Absolutely.
And oh, my gosh.
So the gas mileage was tremendously high. And Christy had heard through people at her job that Williams County Cancer Assistance would help with that and some other things. So they came down and checked it out, and they did help them tremendously with gas mileage. They would have helped with other things, but their insurance was so good that they didn't want to take something away from other people, but the mileage was certainly helpful. So.
Wow, that's great.
Absolutely.
Tom, you hear an awful lot about the different organizations, but I guess most of the time you don't hear that personal story as to how they did help, and it sounds like in your guys' case it really was a big benefit.
Yes, it was. Along with that, both of us are retired educators, and I was totally amazed and impressed with the number of agencies that United Way supports that our school specifically used and referred students and parents to for assistance and help. And when we saw that, we thought, wow, that is fantastic. And so again, we felt we needed to help and give back and do what we can to help support those agencies.
There's, from what I understand this year, there are 32 agencies and programs in Williams County that are going to be helped by the United Way. Specifically, what were the ones that you had contacted with when you were actually working in the school system there?
There were several that myself and the guidance counselor would refer parents to. The ones that I can specifically remember right now would be, well, I'm not even sure what they were. The
FAST program.
The FAST program, the Family and Schools Together, which the school I was at supported and is still supporting it. And I was very pleased and impressed with the Dolly Parton Imagination Reading Program that helps a lot of preschool children. I had no idea United Way supported those agencies.
Sure. For the folks that don't know, what schools were you guys working at there before you retired?
I was at North Central Schools for 30 years as a principal.
Okay.
And I was at Montpelier for 23 years.
So both of you put in a lot of time with the schools and had the opportunity to see United Way hands-on for that many years too, because it's been around and helping people that long.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Chris and his folks came over and they talked to you a little bit, and they convinced you that you needed to volunteer, and I think that's a big part of what the United Way is, and I think that one of the things that we need to do today is try to come up with some folks who are watching that'll do the same thing. Not necessarily volunteer to be chair people for the event, but maybe chair people for different events or just plain volunteers. Is that not right?
Well, Chris has stated that part of this year's focus, if you can't give money, perhaps you can give your time, and volunteering is certainly an absolute way to do that. We know the economic times are tough this year, and if you can give your time, that's sometimes pretty easy to do. There are ways, if you contact United Way through their website, there are ways to volunteer your time throughout this campaign. So we encourage people to do that if they can. Absolutely, we encourage them to give some money if they can, and payroll deduction is one of those ways that if you haven't heard of it, check about it.
Great. The campaign starts when, Tom?
Officially, the first week of October is when the majority of the events will take place, but there's been some other preliminary kickoffs that we have had, and they've been very successful getting the word out to people that, you know, the campaign is ready to start. And as Dee stated, you know, any donation, no matter how small, will certainly help out, and we hope people will remember that. And I think the primary concern and importance of that is that people need to realize, yes, as my wife said, the economic times are rough, but that means this agency needs their help and support even more than any other time. And just this week I read in the Bryan Times where the food pantries in the county are in desperate need. And along with that, so are many of these other agencies that help people out in this community. And I think what impressed me the most is that every town in this county benefits from the United Way.
Yeah, I think that's what people miss a lot of times, both those things. First of all, that times are tough, and so we start to think inwardly that, man, it's tough on me, but it's tough for everybody at that point in time. And the other side, I think that Dee, that you brought up, just a couple dollars even a week is a helpful situation, isn't it, for the United Way?
Very much so. And something else we want to emphasize, this is a county agency. People in every town has something that benefits from United Way. I don't believe there's a family in Williams County that hasn't been touched one way or another, hasn't used an agency one way or another. And I think it's important to remember that we have to help each other get through this mess of the economy.
Yeah. It will come out of it at some point in time.
Some point.
So I guess one of the things maybe people would consider this year, rather than if last year they gave $100 and they don't have $100 this year, maybe they can give 50, but not to give zero and just say automatically that we can't afford it this year, because the area needs the money even more desperately this year than they ever have.
That's absolutely correct.
Correct.
The easiest thing I know is a payroll deduction, Tom, and I think they could probably set that up relatively easy generally with the employers.
A lot of the employers in the county do support United Way, and through their payroll deduction, all they have to do is when the campaign starts, there's brochures that will be handed out, and they can fill out the enrollment form and turn it into their business office or whoever takes care of payroll and have that taken care of.
And I think there are still businesses around that will match some of those deductions, aren't there?
There are some, and I think what impressed me also is we've just recently found out from Chris that there are some businesses that people that help support United Way, they will give them a day off from work, you know, depending upon their donations, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We understand, as we've been coming to the meetings, that many companies do games and that sort of thing to get matching funds, and there's just all kinds of activities. If you keep your ears open in your company, some things are really, really fun.
Sure.
And
sometimes it just takes a person who is as focused as what you guys would be, who are still working in a company, to go to the boss or to the supervisor or whoever and say, hey, why don't we try this year? You know?
Absolutely. Be a great idea.
It really